Okay, so we were living on a ranch and we had a tractor. Do you think we needed a farm truck? Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. Today's episode, we're going to talk about living on the ranch again. And this is a fun topic. We had acquired our little ranch. We had repaired the fence. We had some bees. But my car was an SUV. It was a Jeep Cherokee, a lightweight vehicle appropriate for driving the kids to school. It really wasn't a farm work vehicle. And we were going to be hauling hay and equipment. And so I discerned that we needed a pickup truck. We needed a farm truck. So I started studying this. And at the time, I didn't want to buy a very, very expensive new truck. I thought this would be a great opportunity to buy a vintage truck, an older truck, and, fix it up and, use it as appropriate. So I started doing some research on different kinds of vintage trucks. Now, after World War II, prosperity hit the US and the soldiers came back from war and commerce was very busy, and there was a lot of activity in building cars and trucks. And in the late 1940s and early 50s, the General Motors Corporation made a series of trucks that they called the modern design. These pickup trucks were marketed under two brands, Chevrolet and GMC, and conventional wisdom was that the Chevrolet was the cheaper of the two, more of a consumer grade kind of a thing, but that the better truck was the GMC. It was more expensive, more professional. They looked almost identical. If you look at a modern design truck, it had a rounded hood, very smooth lines, and they made them from 1948 until 1954 with only minor changes in the body style. So when I was looking for a farm truck, I thought that would be my ideal. So I started researching it, and I found out that the motors, the engines in the Chevrolet truck were lubricated by a system called dippers. And that is, as the mechanism in the engine turned, a little projection went into the oil and caused the oil to go up through the channels to lubricate the bearings. The trouble is these engines didn't have pressurized oil lubrication. They didn't have an oil pump. They just used dippers. And so the longevity of those engines made by Chevrolet in that epoch were not great. So if you bought a modern design Chevrolet during those years, it usually had a new engine in it. The original engine burned out. In contrast, I was told that the GMC trucks had oil pumps and that their engines were much more likely to last long term, and that if you bought a GMC truck, you would more likely find the original engine still working. So I thought, why don't I get a GMC truck? Well, they're not that easy to find because they made a lot more Chevrolets than they did GMCs. I found one. And it wasn't horribly expensive, and it ran. It wasn't beautiful, but it was really what I had in mind, so I bought it. It needed some minor repairs, and it was our farm truck. It had a gear shift and a clutch, and it worked. We didn't have any trouble with that truck. We had it for years and years. I hauled heavy things in it. I had thought about maybe having it restored, having all new paint and all, fancy finishes applied and turn it into a museum piece. But it was a farm truck, and it stayed a farm truck, and I did no elaborate or expensive restoration. I just used it as a farm truck. And I gotta admit that I enjoyed every minute driving that old truck. When we moved away from the ranch, I sold that truck. We don't have it any longer, but I do have that fond memory of having an old GMC truck. It was a 1952 GMC truck. Well, that's the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I invite your comments below, and I hope you join us in future videos. See you soon.